So we are now going to go over for our final session of the day to hear from Andrew McKenna Foster, who's of Figshare, as well as Sue, who is our new new solutions consultant here at Symplectic. If you were on yesterday's call, which I believe most of you were, you'll have seen Sue as one of the new faces who's joined us. And Andrew from Figshare, and they're going to talk to us about the integration between the two products and how it can be used as an institutional repository to drive open access. So I'll hand over to you guys.
Great, thanks, Nat. So I have Andrew driving here, and I'll only speak to you for just a moment, really to introduce these two, which Nat has already done. So Sue and Andrew have both been working on this integration, and they're going to talk you through some of the key points and highlights of it. As a part of this particular presentation, the next one, thank you, Andrew. It's really trying to identify how these two tools can be used together. So to be clear, Elements supports choice, and you can integrate a number of different types of repository with Elements. So it's very much not a thou must use Figshare, but we have been getting quite a few queries lately about how the two tools connect. And so we wanted to include a session here for people who wanted to understand how the two tools can be used in combination as a part of their workflow to support open access. So with that, I will pass you over to Andrew.
Thanks, Kate. I'm actually going to go back to my other, let's see. I'm going to jump right into a demo in a moment. So I'm going back to this view of the slideshow. So hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about Figshare, give you a quick demo, and then pass it over to Sue to talk more about Elements. So Figshare is a repository platform built to showcase all of your institution's research outputs in one place. And this is very important because scholarly communication is changing as data sharing and open research practices become standard. So the benefits of an institutional repository that's capable of displaying all different types of outputs across all disciplines is enormous. So a couple key points about Figshare. The platform enables researchers to showcase all types of outputs, so papers, data, software, presentations, and this means they can better represent their research or work, and they can bring their work to life. Now, this means that any research output from your institution that doesn't have a place in a disciplinary repository can be showcased in your institutional repository. And if all of these outputs are in one place, Figshare also puts really robust metrics on all the records. That means that you can report on the impact and reuse of these research from across your campus. And then lastly, Figshare strives to make it very easy to meet funder and publisher data sharing requirements because, among other things, it applies persistent identifiers, DOIs and handles. It offers custom lists of licenses for your institution. There is standard metadata, but you can also add custom metadata, can restrict access to objects as needed, and there's a review and curation module so that you can curate and manage outputs in your repository. And the goal here is that it should be very easy for you to say to a researcher, yes, depositing your research in our institutional repository as part of your data management plan will meet the requirements of your funder or publisher. And so this should increase deposit rate, and it should also really save researchers time. So I'm going to give a very high-level overview tour of what Figshare repositories look like. And I'll start with Carnegie Mellon University's Kilt Hub repository. It's their institutional repository. And as I scroll down on this main portal page, we see all the most recent updates or objects that they put on here. I'm just going to jump right into search, though, to get a kind of more overview of the repository itself. So we have all the repository items here. There were 20,000 of them. I can sort them by the number of citations. Great way to see what items, what records are being reused the most. I can also sort them by their altmetric attention score, see what items are attracting the most attention online. And there's some facets down the left side here to help narrow search results. See items are being shared under multiple different licenses. I'm going to click into this facet for item type, just to demonstrate all the different types of research that's being showcased in this repository. So journal contributions, theses, figures, reports, conference contributions, presentations, posters, so many different types. And these are across disciplines as well. I'll just click into journal contributions. So there are 15,000 records here. And I'm just gonna, I'll open up one here. So on the Figshare Record page, the preview is dominant. And that's because it's so useful to be able to preview file types, especially because research can have so many different types of files associated with it. It's nice to be able to see them directly in the browser. And we can scroll through this entire open access publication right in the browser, all 22 pages if we wish. And the metadata can be used to link this file to the publisher's version. And we see this also has has an attention score. To show you some other examples of how Figshare showcases research, I'm going to take you on a tour through other repositories here. This is an example of both art and research. So it's an image made of tiny violin images to make a big violin image. Great example, I think, of non-traditional research outputs, and it has a really high attention score. Researchers also need to be able to package together lots of different files that are part of their research. This is a great example. It's on Virginia Tech's data repository. This set of files is part of a peer-reviewed publication. So I can click this link to visit the publisher's page for that publication. And they've shared all these different types in one place. If I click the cite button, we can see a DOI that we can use to cite all of these. So there are images, there's MATLAB code, zip file, and there are videos. And we can preview all of these directly in the browser. And it's such a great way to showcase the research. And as someone who's perhaps reading the paper, this may help me interpret the paper. Maybe I'm going to try to reproduce the results. This can help me set all of that up. Another big challenge that researchers face is sharing really large file types or files and large sets of files. Figshare can handle up to 5 terabyte file sizes. And so this is an example of 502 compressed files that total 450 gigabytes. Researchers often have trouble. Where am I going to put this huge file and make it available at the same time? With a Figshare repository, we can just start downloading these files directly in the interface. And there's an open API to facilitate uploading really large files. And then finally, file types for research might be difficult for people to preview. This is an example of an allosaur tooth. It's a 3D file. I can interact with it directly in the browser. And this is cited in a paper. So perhaps I came to this record from that published paper's data availability statement. And if this wasn't previewed here, I might not be able to actually see it. I might not have the right software on my computer. So I've shown you how Figshare stores and displays items, but it's also important how easily this can be done by researchers and or administrators, and how easily it can all be managed. And to quickly show you that, I'm going to use this stage instance of Figshare that you're actually going to see later when Sue talks about elements. And here Sue is represented in the repository. So this is a stage instance, not available online. And I'm logged in as an administrator. I'm going to go into my data. If I was a researcher and I had an account on this repository, I would see something just like this. And I could add a new record through this form. Start adding metadata, drag and drop some files. Maybe it's a metadata only record. And then when I'm ready, I can submit it for publication. As an administrator, I have an administration page, and I can use these little gears here to configure the groups that organize all the files. So I can add custom metadata, change the file storage allocations. I can also see a report about all the users and impersonate them if I need to. And then finally, I can unpublish public items. So it's pretty straightforward to manage this repository, but it also offers a lot of flexibility. And then finally, we have the review module turned on. So here we are, we have an item that's been submitted for publication. As a reviewer, I can assign this to myself, and then I can start editing the metadata. I can download the file, make any changes necessary, and then publish it to the repository. So the Figshare repository makes it possible to store, showcase, and manage all of the outputs from your institution. And we're going to spend the rest of this talk showing you how integrating a Figshare repository with Elements leverages the strengths of both systems. So I'm going to pass it over to Sue now. Stop sharing.
Perfect. Stop sharing. And you guys out of the way. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. And can you still hear me?
Yes,
That's a yes too. Yeah.
Good. Perfect. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Thanks, Andrew. And hello, everyone. So from an Elements point of view, what we're really trying to do is to simplify and optimize the process of making research openly available. And we're really looking to maximize the reuse of research output data. So what I've tried to do here is just call out some of the core features of Elements that really support that point. First up, we've looked to really streamline the deposit workflow process. The philosophy behind this is really, if we keep the process simple, it will be easier for researchers to engage with that process, which will inevitably lead to higher rates of deposit. So for us, we're trying to keep it simple. The ongoing harvest of publication and grants data by Elements is hugely beneficial to administrators and indeed researchers as well, as this removes the need for them to do manual data entry and prevents the duplicate data capture. Essentially, this saves them enormous amounts of time, which we all know is incredibly valuable. From a researcher perspective, we collect and enable them to report on, and importantly, gain recognition for all types of outputs, okay, the traditional and indeed the non-traditional. We also link related research outputs with funding records, which enables easy tracking of compliance with funder mandates. And really, we're looking to drive open access engagement, really with powerful tools and configurable workflows in a centralized location. What we're trying to do is make it easy for administrators to implement their institutional open access strategies. So if we look at Elements with Figshare together and the combined power of these systems and solutions, what we create is a streamlined open access solution that really does help to build a comprehensive picture of your research. Let's take a look at a few specifics here. So both are scalable, cloud-hosted and configurable solutions, and we're more than capable of catering for your ongoing and indeed your evolving open access needs. If you don't happen to have a specialized, dedicated internal team to manage all of this for you, we're here to take the burden off of you, which inevitably saves you time and indeed saves your resource as well. We provide flexibility on where research can actually make their deposits. So researchers can choose to either deposit directly into Figshare, or they can deposit into Figshare via Elements. So by providing this flexibility and giving the researchers choice on which system they use to make their deposits, essentially we're putting them at ease, saving them time, and really hopefully encouraging them to make more deposits. Irrespective of where a researcher makes the deposit, be it Figshare or in Elements, the fact that we harvest that information from Figshare into Elements means that we provide administrators and researchers the opportunity to interact with all open access outputs in a single system. Again, this saves them considerable time and considerable effort, especially when it comes to reporting. Again, the ongoing harvest of data from Figshare into Elements really does enable us to showcase complete, correct, and up-to-date information, and really make sure that we are crediting the researchers for all of their work. Together, we increase the discoverability of publications and researchers, and we enable better assessment of institutional impact as well. And finally, we really look to push and maximize the reuse of Figshare items in Elements. So for example, as soon as we harvest the information back from Figshare, It's pretty much instantly available on the Elements Discovery module on the public profile. I think quite a few of you guys were in Nick's session yesterday where he walked through that in detail. And that's a great example of us maximising the reuse of this data. Essentially, what we're trying to do is to really make the most of the data that we have. Let's not forget the bringing together of two teams of experts as well. So we really hope that you'll benefit from our combined experience and our expertise, and that together we're able to provide you with the most suitable solutions that cater for your current and your future open access needs as well. So let's take a look at the integration in a little bit of detail. Don't worry, it's not technical. That's not my style. So let's jump right in and take a look at some of the implementation and maintenance tools. So we have a range of admin tools available that make the integration easy to implement and to maintain. And really what we're trying to do is offer institutions the flexibility here and the control over the data collection. The integration itself is easy to enable. It's powered by Elements using flexible API connections. We also provide configurable deposit functionality from within Elements as well. So administrators can configure embargo periods, for example, or reuse licenses. And we also enable the power for institutions and admins to create bespoke or customized deposit advice for their researchers. So we understand that one of the main barriers to researchers making deposits is that quite often they don't really know what they're allowed to do. We enable institutions and admins to really provide some clarity over copyright. Again, it's designed to boost engagement and to increase deposit rates. Institutions can also customize the integration using a flexible crosswalk framework, which essentially gives you control of how to map metadata between the two systems. And we also have an innovative crosswalk editor inbuilt in the Elements UI, which removes all the need for specialist tools, so you can manage the configuration and crosswalks yourself. I mentioned there are a couple of pathways for deposit, and researchers can basically choose which pathway and which route they take. So let's take a quick look at that, starting with the Figshare side. So in this scenario, users will simply upload files directly into Figshare. Once these are made public, the records are automatically harvested into Elements. And if there's a match on user accounts and alignment between the two systems, these will be auto-claimed for the researcher in Elements. On the other side, so depositing into Figshare via Elements, users will upload their files or add an existing open access location within Elements and click deposit. These are then pushed directly to Figshare in real time, together with metadata about the output. Hang on, I've lost my mouse. Just need to move you out of the way. And essentially these two systems are kept directly in sync, really to make sure that we're always representing complete and accurate data. So before I actually jump in to demonstrate the ease of deposit in Elements, I just want to highlight a few key features from a researcher perspective in terms of what's in it for them. So we look to reuse metadata records already within Elements to really make the process of depositing really rapid. So if an existing data record has been harvested into Elements and claimed by a faculty member, these are simply needs to upload their files or add an existing OA location for the output. If one exists, then click deposit. You'll see in a second, it's super quick, it's super intuitive, and it's super simple. Where are we? We also cater for depositing of non-traditional research outputs. So here, I'm thinking along the lines of data sets, or if we nod towards the arts and humanities, sculptures, posters, artwork. Again, we provide a simple workflow here to cater for the deposit of those outputs, following simple, intuitive workflows, again, so that researchers can deposit with ease. as a researcher, I can benefit from being guided by embedded Sherpa Romeo advice, and also by the advice configured by my institution, which I mentioned earlier. As much guidance and as help as I need, I'll take it. And I'll be grateful that I see it in a centralized location as well. I'll be able to select embargoes and reuse licenses as well, which will be automatically applied to my deposit. And indeed, these can be edited by admins as well, just in case that's necessary. And once I've made the deposit or sent the deposit over to Figshare, these are automatically put in the curation workflow, which I think Andrew demonstrated as well for review, to make sure that the work is really up to scratch before it's made public. So those are some of the key points from a researcher perspective that I just wanted to call out. And now it's demo time. So let's jump in. And I'm pretty sure I will have been logged out, but you never know. Yes, of course I have. So I'm going to try and move these controls out of the way, which are getting in my way a little bit. Let me just drop it. Perfect. Okay, so for the purpose of this, I'm going to impersonate Kate. Hope that's okay, Kate. You have a lot of rich data which I would like to use. So I'm just going to impersonate Kate there. So the first case I'd like to quickly run through is depositing of an existing data record that is already in Elements and has been claimed by Kate. So let's jump in to Kate's scholarly works. And find our record. I think this one at the top is a good example to use. And before we actually jump into the deposit process, I'd like to draw your attention to a couple of tabs, which I'll come back to after the deposit as well. So the first thing to note is on this deposits tab for this journal article, you'll notice we have a 0. And if I click into that, you'll see that this currently doesn't exist in the repository. That's the first thing. Hold that thought. And the second thing I want to highlight is just this sources tab here. So as I mentioned, and as you guys I know already know, we harvest data from a range of external sources. So in here, we've got Dimensions, Crossref, and Scopus. Just bear that in mind, there's 3 before I make this deposit, okay? So let's jump in and do that right now. Here's a button, it says deposit. Let's click it and see what happens. So you'll see I'm taken to our deposit page here. Now on the left, you'll see the deposit advice, which I've mentioned already. So this little block here has been provided by my institution to give me the hints and tips and the contact information that I might need and might find useful. And here we've got the embedded Sherpa Romeo advice as well, again, giving me the tools really to give me the confidence to make the deposit. Here on the right, you'll see we have the prepare deposit upload a file tab. But before we jump into that, which is what I'm going to use, I'd also just like to draw your attention to this second tab, which is add OA location. And this is if your publication is already available elsewhere in open access form. You just need to pop the URL in there, hit save and then deposit. So there's no need to do an upload there. This tab here, add an exception, if I can click on it, although my screen's a bit laggy, is kind of as the tab heading suggests. This is where I can come to add an exception if I'm not making a deposit. And this is important really to provide context for administrators, librarians, to see why you haven't deposited a particular piece of work. So it's essentially taking you off of their chaser list, if you like. So here, if I click on this drop down, you'll see you can configure a number of different exception types. So this first one, which I think we'll go for, publisher disallows deposit. That seems pretty self-explanatory to me. The publication concerned actively disallows open access deposit in a repository and was the most appropriate publication for the output. Great. I can also add additional comments there as well, again, to inform librarians and administrators of why I'm not depositing this. But actually today, we want to deposit. So let's go for that. nice and simple. Choose a file to upload. Let's go for here and use this file. Perfect. When I click that, you'll see the form expands slightly to step 2 of 3. And this is where I can enter or specify an embargo period, if that was relevant, along with a comment as well. And I can also specify a reuse license as well and add a comment. I'm not going to select either of those for now. What I am going to do is jump to step 3 of 3, select Figshare from the drop down and hit deposit. What you'll see is instantly the deposit is in progress, and within a matter of seconds, I would say, you'll see that my publication has been deposited. That was quick. You have to agree with that. You'll see I'm taken back to my Scholarly Works page automatically, and I asked you to bear in mind the Deposits tab pre-deposit and the Sources tab pre-deposit. If you remember, before, deposit said 0. Now, deposit says 1, and you'll see we have a status of live here. If I click on this, view deposits, you will see, if my bandwidth allows it, come on, there we go, that my record, my file, has been deposited into Figshare and is there and readily available. Just move this out of the way so I can navigate again. Excuse me. Perfect. Let's hop back into Elements and jump into our Sources tab. So if you remember, pre-deposit, we had 3 sources that we'd harvested from. And now we have 4. And you'll see that Figshare for Institutions is now one of those sources. If you remember from the animated diagram showing the deposit workflows, the automatic harvest, the immediate harvest back into Elements once we've made that deposit, this shows that in action. What we'll do here is just quickly jump in to the record. You'll see confirmation of that deposit there again with the status. And down here, we have the Figshare for Institutions data source expanded, showing all that rich metadata as well. I also quickly want to touch on the reuse and jump into Kate's public profile, because what I'm hoping we'll see by doing that is that within a matter of moment, into Kate's Scholarly Works, here we go. Is it this one at the top? I think it is. I think it's this one. You will see very, very quickly that we have links back. Oh no, it's not that one, is it? What's the, what is my, which one did I just deposit? Kate's done a lot of work here. Let's have a look. I can't quite
find it. That one, Sue.
Which one? This,
I think it is
one?
That one, the top
this top one. Oh, perfect. In which case, amazing. I was right all along. We linked directly back to Figshare from the discovery module as well. So again, just trying to illustrate there the speed of the reuse of the data that we house in Elements there. So I hope you'll agree that the deposit process there was quick, it was painless, it was intuitive. So if I was coming to this for the first time, I'd like to think I would know how to go about it. And that's really what we try to do, is simplify that process. I'm going to jump back into Elements and very quickly show you how we cater for depositing the less traditional data types as well. So in this case, we're going to create a new record. We'll keep it simple and just go with a data set, I think. So down here, we have the option to add new, and this opens up all of the scholarly work types that we can choose from in order to create a new record for. And we're just going to go for data set there. Now, what we're seeing here is a configurable workflow, again, defined by administrators, behind which sits configurable forms for you to define mandatory fields and fields to capture data that's really relevant to you guys. First of all, if we enter a title, Elements does a check on duplicates because we don't want duplicates in the system. So if, for example, the data set I wanted to create was called something really original, like, I don't know, Sue's data set, for example, if I just run a quick search on that, you will see that there's already a data set in Elements that matches that title. So actually, no, I don't want to create another one here. I will skip that and I will go back and work with the existing record. So we don't want to do that. What we actually want to do is create a new data set. Let's call it something like table of findings, something original like that. Let's do a search. Marvelous. So this is a good sign. Nothing that matches that title is in Elements, and I think that's a green light for me to go to the next step. Come on. Come on, Bandit, you can do it. You can do it. Perfect. Okay, so here's one of the forms that I mentioned just now. This one's a relatively simple one, but you can see we have a number of mandatory fields to fill in. So I'm just going to go for author of. You'll see the title is automatically pulled through from my first screen. You'll see that me is Kate. Is the author. I have the option here to add other people, so people who may have contributed or collaborated with on this particular data set. We'll leave that empty for now. We have a free text field to enter a description, and we support all of these characters as well. Publication date, that's a mandatory one, so we'll pick a date there. We also have the option here to add keywords and labels to this particular record. Now, this really will enhance the discoverability of the data set once it makes its way into Elements and onto my public profile, but I'll leave that empty for now. And just down here, again, I just need to move you out of the way and hit save. You'll see that very quickly, my record is saved, not deposited. So here I'm taken to a screen to either make the deposit to Figshare, view the work that I've just created, or link it funding to this particular publication or this data set. For today, I'm just going to hit deposit, and you'll see I'm being taken back to the hopefully now familiar deposit screen that we saw in the previous example. All I would simply do is upload the file, use the file, save it, complete. I think that's all I want to show you in terms of this demo. Again, hopefully you'll see just how quick that process was, creating a record from scratch. Hopefully that's proven that point. So I'm going to jump back to the presentation and jump back into present mode. Hopefully I haven't lost audio. I'm just waiting for the presentation to show up on my end because that's quite important. And we're going to take a very quick look at some of the open access administrative tools that we provide for administrators to use. So we have a range of admin tools that, oh, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. We have a range of admin tools which really help and support administrators to administer the open access process. So first of all, we are going to look at the Open Access Monitor. So we create a central space, a workspace for administrators to work in to facilitate all open access activities, including deposits and advocacy. You'll see in a moment, it's a one-stop shop for all of administrative open access needs. We enable monitoring and reporting on deposits and engagement with these, again, from this centralized workspace. It's a great tool for administrators to use to identify open access champions, and also great for spotting potential issues and bottlenecks with groups or individuals as well. So there might be a group of people who are very unsure of the policies in your institution, and maybe just need a little bit of extra help and hand-holding, this tool will give you insight into those very people. So you can offer help, guidance, and support. We also enable tracking of policy compliance and provide the ability for administrators here to record article level exceptions and opt-outs as well. So let's jump back into Elements really quickly and see what the monitoring tool looks like. Kate, I'm going to stop impersonating you now, if I'm allowed to. Perfect. And I'm going to just jump into the open access tool here at the top. So if I just quickly talk through from right to left, on the right, you'll see that we have configuration options here and for setting the open access policy and configuring the open access monitoring settings. And also this is where administrators would come to create and to configure their specialized deposit advice as well. Repository tools, Kate mentioned, we don't just focus on Figshare. We can integrate with a number of different repositories as well, and indeed support integration with multiple repositories as well, if that's needed. And the monitor itself, so this is the tool I was just talking about. Let's jump into a few of these options just to show you what lies behind them. So firstly, looking at scholarly works which fall within your open access policy, you can refine by groups, departments, or by individual users. And on the right-hand side, we can filter by metadata to refine this list down to a manageable number for you. So for example, we could, if I just scroll down and pick a good one, we could, for example, filter on records which are awaiting deposit. And you'll see, although not very much, in fact, if I just put this down to a user level and see what we get here, we'll go for Elspeth. Oh, actually, we'll go for Sue. Why not? Add. You'll see that I get a list of all records and elements which have not yet been deposited. And the great thing about this particular screen, it's not just a flat report. I can actually take action from here to make things happen. And we all know action is a great thing. So on the right-hand side, I could, for example, send an email directly to Sue asking, is there a problem here? Can I help with anything? Directly from here. I can add exceptions to the policy from this place as well. I can set library status to track the progress throughout the workflow. And actually, I can actually even deposit on behalf of Sue from here as well. As administrator, I have that power. It may be that someone's asked you to deposit for them because they're not available. It may be they just don't have the time to do it. You have the power at your fingertips here to make things happen. And that's a great thing. If I just jump back to the monitor over here, we have a dedicated report here to show you specifically user engagement and the health, if you like, of depositing. So here we have a list of users. Again, we can refine this by group or by individual user, showing if there's anything outstanding or awaiting deposit. Now, this is our demo system. I would hope, and I'm pretty sure, that no one will have numbers this high awaiting deposit, but you never know. If you did, this would be a great tool to use to pinpoint the bottlenecks and to go and help them out. But like I say, this is a demo system, no need to panic. Here we have our open access dashboard. So on Sam's talk just now about the reporting hub, this is a great tool, a visualization really, available to administrators if you don't have access to the reporting hub. So again, just to flag, this is a demo system. It looks a bit flat, a bit grey, kind of like it's not working. Yours would be a lot more colourful than this. But essentially, this visualization here shows the highest percentage of deposit by individuals against the lowest, and also the highest rate of deposits by group, along with the lowest as well. So again, it's a nice visualization here, another way, another method and means of viewing and interpreting the data that's in front of you. The last thing I want to touch on is just the OA report. So we have, I think three data export reports. You can set parameters here or choose to filter and apply, and then you can report on and export on deposit reports, compliance, and open access policy exceptions as well. So I hope what you see here is, from an administrative point of view, everything's in one place. That's the beauty of it. You're not jumping from system to system trying to work out who's done what and why and how. It's all in one place, saving you hopefully valuable time. I think, Kate, at this point, I'm going to hand over to you to go through recently added features and to bring us home. So Kate, over to you.
Great. Thank you for that, Sue. So this is just a really quick mention for me as we're wrapping up, that feature that I was talking about earlier about the option to configure within Elements by type which items you want to target to which repository is particularly pertinent for organizations who are using Figshare and the Figshare integration, because it allows a couple of different modes for using Figshare with Elements. So if you click through to the next slide, Sue.
I will do.
Thank you. So there's really two models that are available to you here if you're looking at connecting Figshare up to Elements. So one is to use Figshare as the full institutional repository where there are papers, data, videos, figures, all kinds of things being sent backwards and forwards between the two systems. But the other pathway that is available is to integrate Elements with more than one repository. So if Figshare is a data repository, it can be syncing up that data with Elements whilst papers are being connected to another repository. So at the moment we offer bidirectional integrations for DSpace, ePrints and Hyrax, and actually as a part of that integration, so if you click one more time,
I will do.
We can also be passing backwards and forwards links between items in either repository. So the ability to pass through that information about how objects in Elements are linked together that Sue mentioned earlier in terms of funded items can also be true for datasets and for papers, so that each system can highlight the interconnections to items in each repository. So there's considerable flexibility there, and there are different ways to use these systems together. But we hope that gave you a flavor of how these two tools can be connected. With that, over to any questions. And we see we've had a question come in the chat about how many academic medical institutions have been using Figshare for pubs, data, etc. So I'll pass that question over to you, Andrew.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, so currently we have 5 institutions that use, in North America, that use Figshare for both publications and data. Others just use it for data. One institution just uses it for electronic theses and dissertations.
And I can add to that globally, we work with 25-ish organizations that have both Figshare and Elements in varying forms of combination. And I know that some of them have been waiting for this latest feature in order to integrate their Figshare, which is why I wanted to flag it up as a factor there. I'm mindful that we're slightly over time, so I might pass you back to Natalie to wrap up, and then we can, if you have further questions, please do get in touch via the support site and we'll make sure that we get answers to you.